Do you think grandparents should be compensated for babysitting their grandchildren?
Yes, especially when they have a lot of grandchildren. I think so.
You said never let me go.
1, 2, 3.
What's your name?
Paula.
Elise.
Do you think grandparents should be compensated for babysitting their grandchildren?
That's a really good question.
I'm the best ever.
I think it depends on the situation. I think that caring for children is labor that deserves to be compensated and often is not. Like different types of domestic labor aren't compensated, and that usually falls to like women in the household. And I think that in certain situations, yes, but like if the grandparents are like more financially well off or more access to like wealth or they don't like need the money, then like maybe not in those situations. And if they just want to do it because they want to.
It really depends on the scenario too and the frequency of it as well. Like every once in a while, I don't necessarily like think it's a big deal, or like if the grandparents are doing it out of love. But if it's pretty much replacing childcare, then that's a whole different other scenario. So it really, as Paula said, depends on the scenario.
Yeah, baby.
Do you think it has to be discussed first before her raising your kids?
Yes.
Alright guys, your IG so they can follow you.
At Planet Paula.
At Elise Lowflower.
What's your name?
Thea?
Do you think grandparents should be compensated for babysitting their grandchildren?
No, I don't think so.
There you go.
Why?
Because it's all part of the family. It's part of that bigger community that raises children.
So you don't think they should be compensated?
No.
Nick, you bet not.
What if they insist?
I don't know. Ask the other grandparents.
Do you think it's their responsibility to raise your kids?
I do. I think the parents should have the majority of the responsibility, but it takes a village.
I mean, raising kids is a full-time job. It's a full-time job. It takes a lot of energy.
No, I don't think so.
Really? Do you think it has to be discussed first before her raising your kids?
Yeah, I think that's good. Definitely. Yeah. Role of the grandparents and how much they're going to take on, how much they can take on. Yeah.
Don't you think by not paying her, you're taking it for granted?
No, they're your family.
Oh, okay.
That's part of your responsibility.
Police! Help!
As a family member, yeah.
So you think it's mandatory for her to take care of her kids?
To help out. Not primary, ideally, but yeah.
Alright, your IG so they can follow you.
Thea Mesereau.
5 minutes later.
What's your name?
Pair.
I'm bipolar.
I think it depends on the period.
Okay.
Let's say if they just babysitting them for like few days, I think it's fine. But if like it's a whole
Like continuously?
continuously, then probably there should be some compensation for them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you think it's their responsibility to take care of your kids?
No, it's not.
Yeah, I probably say the same thing. Yeah, so I think it's not the responsibility of the grandparents to take care of
The kid. Oh,
kids,
okay.
yeah.
Alright guys, your IG so they can follow you.
Pair is sweet.
What's your name?
Lauren. I would say no because I feel like being a grandparent, it's one of the many joys to have grandchildren. So I feel like just having the joy of having the grandchildren alone would be compensation enough for them.
Aw, that's sweet.
But if it was such a hassle for them, I feel like they should be compensated because at an older age, it is harder for you to take care of children, and it is definitely stressful. So I would say it depends on the grandparent, but if they want to be compensated, they should, I believe.
Do you think it's their responsibilities to raise your kids?
Come look at this.
No, I don't think it's their responsibility.
Finally!
But if they would like to, then I would say yes.
Raising kids is a full-time job.
Yes, they should have to be compensated, unless they don't want to be.
So by not paying her, don't you think you're taking her for granted?
Yeah, to an extent, I feel like. I feel like in some situations they do take it for granted, but in others it's kind of like, I don't know, that's a tough question.
Okay.
I know.
So I believe if you expect them to help out, then you should first have the conversation with them. But if they're unwilling to like take care of the children, then you should have to look for other child care somewhere else. You shouldn't have to like expect them to do that just because they're the grandchildren.
That's true. Alright, your IG so they can follow you.
Lauren Franco with 2 O's.
What's your name?
Daniela.
Vicente.
Yes, I think they should be compensated because it is a job that they're
doing, and therefore they should be compensated, especially if they also have another job on top of it and they're helping their family. I think that they should be compensated.
That's your grandchildren too.
Yeah, it's their family, but it's a job, and any job that you do, you should get compensated for. Like, nobody should work for free.
Do you think it's mandatory to pay them?
Not mandated, like we were saying before. I think it's more like a discussion that needs to happen within the family in order to, like, come to an agreement.
And maybe also instead of necessarily paying grandparents for babysitting their grandchildren, maybe also like paying the parents to like daycare, to cover daycare and things like that. That's also like an interesting idea.
Grandparents like love to take care of their grandchildren. Like but it's also, I've known families where it's like a burden on the grandma, and it's like exactly. So it's like a very fine line, and I think that definitely it's like something that should be discussed, but I think that it's a good idea.
It has to be discussed?
Yeah, I think it needs to be discussed, but I think it's a good idea to compensate grandparents for their time, and they are doing a job, and if you can help them out by paying them and they're taking care of your baby, like, why wouldn't you do it?
By not paying her, do you think you're taking her for granted?
Yes.
You are?
Sometimes, yeah. I think a lot of grandparents are taken for granted in that regard, yeah.
What's your name?
Denisa?
Enrique.
Do you think grandparents should be compensated for babysitting their grandchildren?
Yes, especially when they have a lot of grandchildren. I think so. You know what? Again, as I was explaining, come from Latin families. I personally am Mexican, so my grandmas have had a lot of kids, and then in turn their kids have had a lot of kids. And my grandma didn't necessarily go through this, but I've known friends that their grandparents go through it a lot. And some people don't have the resources to be taking care of their grandchildren the whole time. I understand, it's free, and it's like, but there's also so much that goes into taking care of their grandchildren, you know? I think of it personally as taking advantage of it. And people might get mad at me for that. But if you know that you don't have the time to be taking care of your children, put them in after-school programs.
That makes sense.
Sometimes they're free. I understand, there's people that can't afford it. Totally understandable. And I think grandparents should be a last-minute resort. They should never be like a person on the first call basis.
I agree.
It just doesn't seem fair to me, personally.
Do you think it's their responsibility to raise your kids?
Hell no.
Oh, okay.
Hell no. And I'm lucky that my grandmother instilled that into my own mom, because my own mom told me, she's like, if you ever choose to have children, don't drop them off at my doorstep. Like, she literally said that, and I was like, okay. At first, I was kind of like apprehensive about it, but then like I understood. It's like, those aren't my mom kids. They're not my mom kids to raise. They're not gonna call my mom mom. They have to call me mom, because I'm gonna be the one that's showing them. I'm the one that's paying for them. I'm the one that's teaching them life lessons. I feed them.
You so smart. You know everything.
So it's not fair at all.
I feel like it's kind of unfair, like for somebody to like just have a kid and they're like, here, take care of it while I do something else.
That's terrible.
And they're like, and since they're like their grandkids, they're not gonna be like, no, sorry, I don't have time. Because also like they want to spend time with them and everything. But I feel that there should be like, if the parents are busy, there should be a balance. But they should have also thought about their life situation at the moment for them to really be having kids if they don't have the time. Because like I've heard so many people go around and be like, yeah, I'm gonna have a kid, but like I don't have time. And I was like, then don't. And they're like, no, but it's fine. Like I can just drop it off at my mom's and like I'll just come get it later. I was like, first of all, get it later, okay. Good choice of words, first and foremost. My mom is always like, okay, you can have grandkids so I can take care of them. I was like, okay, but like, I'm supposed to be the one raising them. Like, why are you gonna spend all that time with them? Well, it should be me teaching them and like taking care of them. Because why am I gonna just have a kid to have a kid and not really have that experience with them and just like throw them? Because if I'm really focusing my profession, my career, my whatever it is at the moment, or if I don't have the money, why would I even think about having a kid at that point of my life if I'm not really prepared like mentally, financially, anything, if I'm really prepared to have that? Because like it's not unfair for them, because they're gonna think that I don't care about them because I'm always like taking them to grandma or taking them to grandpa. I'm not gonna get that experience with like raising my kid and like having that connection with them.
Raising kids is a full-time job, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy, so I think they have to be compensated. Alright guys, your IG so they can follow you guys.
Denisa Cazares. DENESSACAZARES.
Kind of problematic because it's KIKE 2808.
Alright,
Thank you.
Alright guys, we're done guys.
Okay, bye.